You've been running, fast, hard, from practice to podcast, from vision board to visualization, hustling to bring it in. The dream, the love, the miracle, the breakthrough. You've tried everything, and yet it slips, always just out of reach. Like reality knows when you're desperate, like it waits until you're exhausted to stay exactly the same. What if I told you it's not your lack of action that's the issue, it's your overflow of it? Neville said, "To desire is to confess you do not have." And that's the law. The more you chase it, the more you affirm that it's not here. Because chasing is not attraction. It is the energy of separation, dressed up as effort. You think your work is building the bridge, but your frantic energy is burning it. You visualize, then panic when it doesn't happen tomorrow. You affirm, then doubt in the next breath. You micromanage the how, you track the when, and all the while your nervous system is screaming, it's not real yet. But here's the real secret. Creation doesn't respond to effort, it responds to identity. You do not manifest what you want, you manifest what you believe yourself to be. The version of you who has it is calm, centered, certain, silent. And right now, you're not being them. You're being the version who still thinks they have to earn it. That's not faith. That's fear in disguise. You weren't meant to hustle reality into submission. You were meant to receive it by alignment. You're not blocked because you're lazy. You're blocked because you're doing too much from the wrong state. The sacred state is this: I already am. I already have. I already know. And anything outside that is noise. So before we go any further, I want to ask you, have you been acting from embodiment or from panic dressed as discipline? Because this is where we return, not to doing more, but to becoming more. You're not here to prove your worth. You're here to step into the version of you who doesn't have to prove anything at all. Now, we begin again. But this time, we stop chasing and we start remembering. You've been told to act, to push, to always be doing something, as if motion equals power. But that's not power. That's anxiety with a mask on. Real power, the kind that bends reality around your presence, is still, silent, sovereign. Stillness is not inaction. It is magnetic authority. It is not waiting. It is arriving. It is not passive. It is precise. Think of the ocean. The deeper you go, the quieter it gets. But that's where the pressure is highest. That's where the force lives. The surface is loud. The deep is what moves the earth. You don't need to force anything anymore. Because what you truly want doesn't come from effort. It comes from alignment. Neville said, all transformation begins with an intense, burning desire to be transformed. But the transformation happens in stillness, not in strain. This is where most people miss the truth. They think silence is weakness, that doing nothing means giving up. But silence isn't giving up. It's stepping into the identity of already having. When you know, you don't hustle. When you have, you don't chase. When you are, you don't need to explain. Stillness isn't the absence of effort. It's the presence of embodiment. The version of you who already has it. They are calm. They are still. They don't shout their manifestations into existence. They let the world adjust to their vibration. And in stillness, you become a signal, a pulse, a frequency so coherent, so undisturbed that the universe can't help but lock on. You stop being noise and start being gravity. This is where your power returns, not in louder affirmations, not in more techniques, but in finally believing that you don't need to prove anything anymore. You sit, you breathe, you hold the state, and you let the world orbit around the stillness of a soul that has already decided it's done. You were told desire means you don't have something, that it's the ache of emptiness, a reminder that what you want is far away. But what if the opposite is true? What if the moment you desire is the moment your soul says, this is already yours. You just forgot. Desire is not deficiency, it's memory. It's the glimpse behind the veil, the vibration of the version of you that already lives the life you're calling in. When you feel desire, you're not being teased by the universe. You're being reminded by your higher self of what's waiting on the other side of remembrance. Neville said, "All you can possibly need or desire is already yours. Call your desires into being by imagining and feeling their reality." He didn't say chase them. He said feel them, dwell in them, claim them. Because when you truly understand desire, you stop asking, "Why don't I have this yet?" And you start asking, "Why have I been pretending it's not already within me?" Desire is not a signal to act harder. It's an invitation to surrender deeper, to surrender to the version of you who knows. You were always meant for this. You're not manufacturing a fantasy. You're unlocking an ancient memory that was encoded in your consciousness before you were born. You're not broken for wanting more. You're ready for it. So when desire visits, don't reject it. Don't suppress it. Don't judge it. Open the door. Let it in. Ask it, what am I being asked to remember about myself right now? Because desire doesn't lead you away from truth. It leads you back to it. It says, you're closer than you think. You already touched it in the unseen. Now let's walk it into the scene. So stop treating desire like an enemy and start treating it like a message. A divine knock on the inner door saying, you are ready now. Let's become what you asked for. Look at everything around you. Your relationships, your results, your routines, your rhythms. Not from judgment, from clarity. Because here's the truth Neville knew, and every spiritual law confirms. You are not a victim of conditions. You are the cause of them. The world is not happening to you. It is echoing from you. Your life is not built on your goals. It's built on your assumptions. And those assumptions are not thoughts. They're states of identity. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. That's why you can affirm all day long. But if your state is rooted in lack, nothing shifts. Because words don't move energy, being does. Neville said, change your conception of yourself and you will automatically change the world in which you live. And this is where the game changes. When you finally understand that life is not responding to what you're doing, but who you're being while you do it. Not your hustle, not your strategy, not your effort, but your state. When you believe you're not good enough, you'll manifest proof. When you believe things are always just out of reach, you'll stay one step away forever. But when you shift your I am, when you root yourself in the version of you who already lives in the outcome, the world reshapes itself to meet you there. Because reality doesn't resist identity, it reflects it. So stop seeking the next tool, stop chasing the next method, and start asking, who would I be if I stopped trying to become and just decided to remember? Because the version of you who already has it all, they don't seek, they don't strive, they don't chase, they simply generate from stillness, from knowing, from sovereignty. You are not the seeker anymore. You are the cause. Now live like it. We've confused faith with optimism, with cheerfulness, with repeating affirmations until something finally breaks. But faith, real faith, is none of those things. It is not performance. It is possession. It is the stillness of knowing, so deep, so anchored that no delay can make you question. Neville said, faith is loyalty to the unseen reality, not hope, not trying. Loyalty, meaning you don't just entertain the possibility, you stand inside the outcome like a cathedral. And even if the world around you looks like the opposite, you don't flinch, you don't shrink, you don't move. Because faith is not about what your eyes see, it's about what your spirit confirms. Faith doesn't chase signs, it becomes the signal. It says, even if nothing has changed out there, I've already changed in here, and that's enough. This is the highest form of manifestation, to be unmoved, unshaken, still. To rest in the reality you've declared, even when circumstances pretend otherwise. It's not stubbornness, it's alignment. Because the moment you start checking, you've stepped out of faith and into fear. You've said, Maybe it's not done. Maybe I need to help it. Maybe the universe forgot. But the universe didn't forget. You just forgot to stay in the frequency of done. And that frequency feels like stillness, like breath, like trust you don't have to force. So when people ask, how can you be so calm? Aren't you worried it won't work? You smile because they don't understand the math of miracles. The more certain your spirit becomes, the less action is required. Because faith is stillness in motion, not racing, not proving, just becoming the one who no longer doubts. Because when it's already yours, what's there to fear? There's a version of you that already lives the life you're reaching for. They don't want it, they walk in it. They've stopped trying to arrive because they know they're already there. Neville called this the state of the wish fulfilled. He didn't say hope for it. He didn't say visualize it endlessly. He said live in the end. Because reality doesn't form from desire, it forms from embodied identity. If you want something and continue to act like it's missing, you delay it. You tell reality, I'm not that person yet. And the world says, okay, we'll wait. But when you walk, talk, breathe, feel, and move as the version of you who already has it, you collapse the timeline. Because reality responds not to longing, but to consciousness made real. Living from the end doesn't mean faking it, it means being it. So ask yourself, if I already had it, how would I feel in my body? How would I speak to people? What would I stop explaining? What would I stop chasing? Let that guide you, because here's what no one tells you. The final version of you doesn't think about the desire anymore. They just wake up and live the result. They don't analyze. They don't push. They move in rhythm with the reality they've already claimed. So if you want to change your life, don't try to manipulate the outer conditions. Change your starting point. Because where you move from determines what you'll move into. And if you keep living toward your dream, you'll always keep it at a distance. But if you start living from your dream, the world becomes a mirror that catches up. This is what faith looks like in motion. Not pushing, not asking, just becoming. The dream isn't something you reach, it's something you remember. Now step into it, not later. Now, because the end has always been waiting for you to finally start from it. You declared it. You assumed the state. You felt it real. And then you peaked. Just for a second, you checked the phone, refreshed the inbox, watched for the DM, asked the question again. Is it working? That one question is the doorway to delay, because in that moment, you stepped out of embodiment and back into lack. Neville warned us, feeling is the secret. Remain faithful to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. But doubt is a silent thief. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It speaks in logic. It sounds responsible. What if it's not happening? What if I need to try something else? What if I missed my chance? But these questions don't bring clarity. They bring separation. Because here's the sacred law. To question if is to cancel already. Every time you check the seed, you interrupt its process. You reopen the soil and slow the bloom. You plant the intention and then kill it with curiosity. Faith isn't the absence of thought. It's the refusal to interrupt what you've already chosen. When you truly believe, you don't ask for confirmation, you become the confirmation. This is why the manifestations don't come when you're fixated. They come when you forget to ask again, when you relax, when you release, when you walk in wholeness. Because doubt doesn't delay the dream, it delays you from receiving it. So next time you feel the urge to check, ask instead, what would I feel right now if I knew it was already mine? Anchor into that, because the one who checks is still uncertain. But the one who rests, that's the one who receives. Be still and know. This isn't poetry. It's not a phrase to feel nice. It's not a soft pause between louder truths. It is the core command behind every miracle ever made real. Because in the deepest stillness, everything becomes clear. Stillness isn't the absence of movement. It is the presence of embodiment. It's what happens when you planted the seed, When you've stepped into the state, when you've claimed the outcome, and now you let existence itself respond. Stillness says, I have nothing to prove, nothing to defend, nothing to chase. And in that silence, the world begins to move around you. Neville understood this deeply. He didn't just teach imagination. He taught identity in stillness, the unmoved state of the I am. Be still and know that I am God. This isn't just scripture, it's instruction. Because when you stop scrambling for signs, when you stop questioning your timing, when you stop rehearsing your worth, you step into the only state that creates effortlessly, stillness fused with knowing. And that kind of stillness, it rearranges reality. It bends circumstances. It calls people in. It makes space without lifting a hand. Stillness isn't weak. It is the eye of the storm, the only place untouched by chaos. And it's only from this center that your true power emerges. You don't shout anymore. You don't explain. You don't debate yourself into worthiness. You sit, you breathe, you anchor. And your energy becomes the instruction the universe cannot ignore. Because everything you desire is listening for the still one who finally says, it is done, and I know it. So when you find yourself trying again, stop. When you want to reach again, breathe. And when you forget, return. Return to stillness. Return to remembrance. Return to the sacred center where manifestation is no longer effort, but echo. What if I told you that the past you think is fixed isn't? That the memory holding you back is not a sentence, but a script still being edited by the hand of your consciousness? Neville didn't just teach us how to visualize a better future. He taught us how to rewrite reality backward. He called it revision. Change the past, he said, and you change the future that grows from it. Not symbolically, energetically, because your subconscious doesn't live in linear time. It responds only to vibrational truth. And if a memory still holds pain, guilt, failure, abandonment, that energy is still alive inside you, shaping what's unfolding now. But here's the power. You don't need to beg the past to heal. You don't need years of processing. You need one sacred decision. I choose to see it differently now. This is how revision works. You go back, not with your body, but with your awareness. You revisit the moment, the breakup, the rejection, the silence, the failure, the moment you felt small, and you rewrite it. You change the tone. You give yourself the words you needed. You shift their face, their voice, their choice. You let the scene breathe in the light you wish had been there. And then you feel it. You feel it as real, as done, as yours. Because once your subconscious accepts the new version, everything downstream begins to change. You are not bound by what happened. You are only bound by what you continue to assume happened. This is not denial. This is sovereignty. This is not fantasy. This is creative authorship. The kind Neville taught when he said, "It is not what you want that you attract. It is what you believe to be true." And when you revise your past, you change what's true for you. In the only place that matters, your internal world. So if there's a moment that still echoes pain, go back, not to relive it, but to redeem it. See it again, feel it again, rewrite it. Not as the victim, but as the one who knows they've always had the pen. Most people give thanks after something arrives, after the goal is met, after the breakthrough, after they feel safe. But that kind of gratitude isn't creation, it's reaction. Real manifestation begins with a different posture. Gratitude in advance. Because nothing confirms your identity faster than the willingness to say, thank you, even now. Even before the money lands. Even before the call comes. Even before the healing shows up on paper. Why? Because that's how the soul speaks when it already knows. Neville taught, feeling is the secret. And no feeling is more powerful than thanksgiving before the form appears. Because when you feel grateful in advance, you're not begging, you're remembering. You're stepping into the vibration of the version of you who doesn't need convincing. You're embodying the end. And the universe listens not to your timing, but to your tone. Think about it. Would the person who already received be anxious, desperate, searching, or would they be still, certain, overflowing? This is why premature gratitude is not delusion. It's alignment. It tells the world, this is who I am now. I am the one who receives. I am the one who already holds it. And from that frequency, your desires don't just come closer. They begin to reveal themselves naturally. Because energy is obedient. It moves toward recognition, not resistance. So don't wait to feel grateful. Choose it now. Breathe it now. Declare it in stillness. Thank you for the money that already knows my name. Thank you for the love that is magnetized to my calm. Thank you for the opportunities that are responding to who I've become. And if it ever feels hard to give thanks, pause. Not to force the feeling, but to remember the truth. You are not waiting for life to prove itself to you. You are showing life what you've already accepted as real. Gratitude in advance is how the dream arrives right on time. You were aligned, you were centered, you were in your frequency, and then you scrolled. You saw someone living the life you asked for, celebrating what you've been praying to receive, smiling in a reality that still feels just out of reach for you, and suddenly your energy dropped. You felt behind. You felt unseen. You felt small. This is the silent danger of comparison. It doesn't just steal your joy, it shifts your identity. In an instant, you exit your I am. You leave the frequency of already done and enter the vibration of maybe I'm not enough. Neville warned us, there is no one to change but self. But when you're comparing, you're trying to measure up to someone else's echo, rather than anchor into your own cause. Here's what you must remember. You don't know their timeline. You don't know what version of them you're seeing. You don't know if that moment you envy is even aligned with who they truly are. But you do know yourself, and that is your only ground. Comparison is spiritual amnesia. It makes you forget your mission, your rhythm, your soul's timing. And when you compare, you start chasing shadows. You abandon your state. You dilute your frequency. You can't be the god of your reality while wishing you had someone else's life. Because your world was designed around your assumption, not theirs. So when comparison creeps in, don't fight it. Just return. Return to the I am. Say, I am not behind. I am not forgotten. I am not a copy. I am the original frequency of something this world has never seen before. Their win is not your loss. Their timeline is not your prison. Their story is not your prophecy. You are not here to match anyone. You are here to mirror your inner truth until reality aligns with it fully. So close the feed. Close the loop. Close the space where doubt enters, and sit again in the quiet power of I am. You asked, not with begging, not with desperation, but with your vibration, with your state, with your assumption. And the universe, which only speaks in frequencies, heard you clearly. Neville said, to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to live in the end. Once you feel it real, it is done. Not later, not someday, now. But here's the part we forget. The moment you shift, reality begins to shift. But its response time depends not on intensity, but on consistency. You don't need to keep asking. You need to keep being. Because every time you wobble, every time you doubt, panic, recheck, you confuse the signal. You walk out of the state and then wonder why nothing's changing. But the seed is not missing, it's maturing. You're not being ignored, you're being aligned. The dream was not rejected, it was activated the moment you believed. So don't dig it up to check. Don't pull the roots to inspect. Don't test reality every 3 hours to see if it listened. It did. Now it's waiting for you to remain as the one who has already received. And this is the work. Not more effort, not more convincing. Just a return to the vibration of, I've already chosen. I've already claimed, and I refuse to become someone who doubts my own power. This is how worlds are built, not by repeated asking, but by unwavering assumption. So walk like it's done, speak like it's done, rest like it's done, because it is. Now let the world remember what you already knew. Everything you see, everything you experience, everything that comes and goes in your world is not happening to you. It is happening through you. The world is not an independent machine. It is an echo chamber of your own vibration. Neville said, "There is no one to change but self." He meant it literally, because every situation, every encounter, every so-called coincidence is a reflection of your state of being. The outer world is just your inner world made visible. It's not a scoreboard, it's a mirror, and that means you don't fix reality by fixing circumstances. You fix reality by reclaiming identity. If your life feels stuck, ask yourself, what have I been assuming about who I am? Because assumptions are silent architects. They build without asking for permission. They manifest with precision and zero judgment. If your core assumption is, I'm overlooked, it's hard for me, people don't choose me, you will continue to attract scenes that prove your assumption correct. Not because the universe is cruel, but because it's perfectly obedient. Reality does not challenge your self-concept, it mirrors it. And the moment you change your tone, everything must shift. That's not spiritual fluff. That's the law. So what do? You stop reacting. You stop arguing with appearances. You stop begging the mirror to smile before you smile first. You return to the cause, your I am. You declare, I am chosen. I am supported. I am aligned. I am no longer available for the version of reality that contradicts who I now claim to be. And then you hold that. You don't wait for proof. You let the world catch up to your decision. Because the longer you hold a new tone, the more reality echoes it back. The universe doesn't resist, it reflects. So shift the signal and trust the return. You've assumed the state, you've lived in the end. You've revised the past. You've walked in faith, spoken with gratitude, and claimed the truth of your I am. Now, do nothing, not out of laziness, not because you've given up, but because there is nothing left to do. The cause has been set, the identity has been cast, the seed has been planted in the soil of consciousness. And just like the gardener who doesn't dig up the roots every morning to check on their progress, you don't disturb what's already in motion. This is spiritual maturity, the ability to rest while the universe reconfigures itself around your decision. Neville said, remain faithful to the state and reality must conform. He didn't say, try harder, affirm louder, watch the clock. He said, remain. Because doing more from the state of already done is contradiction. Stillness is not passive. Stillness is magnetic precision. It says, I trust the laws I've already activated. I trust the identity I've already chosen. I trust the future that's already echoing its way back to me. So now you walk gently, you speak less, you breathe deeper, you release the old addiction to effort and instead lean fully into embodiment. You understand? The final step in creation is silence, because silence says, I no longer doubt, I no longer need, I no longer seek, I am. And from that stillness, everything that is yours comes looking for you. Not because you chased it, but because you became undeniable in your frequency. So this is your instruction. Don't repeat, don't rehearse, don't beg, just be. And let the echo arrive in perfect timing to the one who no longer questions their worth. All along, you thought you were trying to get there, trying to become, trying to attract, trying to align. But the truth is simpler, deeper, more complete. You were never becoming. You were always just remembering. The love you seek already lives within you. The abundance you want already pulses in your identity. The peace you crave was never missing, just buried beneath 1,000 assumptions that said you had to earn it first. But you don't. because you are already it. Neville didn't teach you to beg the universe. He taught you to assume your place within it. To be conscious of being is to be alive. You don't chase what you are. You embody it. And once you do, the world begins to reflect it like a mirror that was just waiting for the fog to clear. You no longer need to visualize harder, affirm louder, or prove yourself. You just need to stay awake. Awake to who you already are. Awake to the reality that's always been available, but required one thing: for you to stop pretending it wasn't yours. This is the end of effort. This is the beginning of embodiment. From here on out, you no longer say, I want. You say, I am. Because that one shift changes the tone of your entire life. Your vibration speaks louder than your voice. Your identity sends clearer instructions than your affirmations. And when you truly claim who you are, reality has no choice but to match it. So here we are. No more becoming, no more reaching, no more doubt. Just this: you are already it. You have always been it. Now, live like it.